What is up, YouTube? AlphonZeus of Team Gradelock here with another episode of Unlocking Your Week, episode 71. We're going to start things off with the results of the raffle. Now, in this little gunner's bag, I put in all 15 people who commented with their avatar slash buddy slash icon from the various Bushiroad games. And since I'm not able to really shuffle it up pretty well, I'm just going to put it all in my bag right here. I'm going to pour all of them in here, and we're just going to shake it up and see who gets the first one. So the first prize will be for Hexagonal Magus, the Oracle Think Tank Break Guard. I'm going to shuffle it up. Around. And the first winner of this is Dark Angel, who proclaimed his avatars are Raging Form Dragon of Shadow Paladins and Lord of the Seven Seas Nightmare. So congratulations, Dark Angel. Feel free to message us with your address so that we can send it out in due time this week. And then the second prize will be for Prism Duo Aria, the black art for Bermuda Triangle. So let's shuffle up. Try and get around a bit more. And the second winner of this is Vanguard Heroes. Avatar is Illusionary Avenger Mordred Phantom. So congrats to both people who won the contest, as well as everybody who entered. We always appreciate our subscribers interacting us in one way or the other, whether it's through comments or entering our contests and whatsoever. And just so you know, both Dark Angel and Vanguard Heroes, you have the end of this week as a deadline in order to send us your address so that we can send out these character card sleeves to you so you can enjoy them and put them in your deck. And if you don't manage to message us by the end of the week, midnight, on Saturday, then we will do another raffle at the next vlog, Unlocks the Week, episode 72, with the remaining 13 people that we have in the raffle. So, now that we have the contest results out of the way, let's get right into the local results, at least of what happened at Game On this past weekend. Friday, I thought there was going to be a Cardfight Vanguard tournament, but in fact, there was actually a Super Smash Bros. For the 3DS tournament there. There were about 12 people that entered. I was very surprised too. I wasn't feeling too confident in my Smash play, so I didn't enter. But I know that at least the people that managed to make it to the top two and got a pretty sizable pot were John and Darius respectively. John, he was running, I guess, Team Triforce, how do I say? He was running Sheik, Link, Zelda, pretty much almost all of the Legend of Zelda characters, and of course, who can forget the villain Ganondorf, even Toon Link if you want to throw him in there. And the second one, he used Darius, and he's used, I know, Bowser for a good majority of it. If you happen to know what other characters he played, feel free to comment down below with them as well. Now, during that time, I guess for some of us that were outside of the Smash tournament, we did pretty much just play testing and just playing games, whether doing the Team Gradelock Challenge or whatnot. And if you want to know more about the Team Gradelock Challenge, I'll do another episode this week featuring how to get onto the team. Whether it's, mostly it would be in person, since of course we want to see you every week in person. Now that the Fridays thing is out of the way, let's get into the Saturday event, where we actually had a traditional Saturday with both a Cardfight Vanguard tournament as well as a Future Card Buddy Fight tournament later that day. And in Cardfight Vanguard, we hit 21 people, which is pretty sizable. And the thing is, it was the mark of a new format. In this case, it would actually be 4 rounds of Switch, not 5, but it'll cut to top 8. So you can pretty much go 2-2 and have a slightly better chance of topping because, probably going to be a little bit more dependent on the tiebreakers, and the tournament won't have to go into another 40 minutes because, time is pretty necessary for running both tournaments in, good timing. So I went in with the Dimensional Robos of Dimensional Police as always because I still need to get that Mega Colony Break Ride if I want to enter Cardfight Vanguard tournament with Psycho Mattis and Hercules and all the Machinines and stuff like that. So round 1, I went up against a Kagero player in the form of, I think, Michael or Joe. I'm sorry if I forgot your name. Anyways, he was running Novell, and it was a very sizable matchup. I haven't seen Novell in quite a while. Not just in, since we hadn't had the Vanguard tournament on Saturday in 2 weeks, but still, I thought I would be playing a lot of Glendios today. So with what he played, we ended up playing that to game 3. Game 1, he managed to get me with Nobel. He did the superior ride with Cool Dragon, so he was able to really get to Nobel by the time, by the time I would ride my grade 3. Game 2, I managed to win because of the brake rides as well as the reverse Dayusha. That really sealed the victory for me because I was able to at least, put enough aggro on him that, reverse Dayusha would have to drop, have to drop another 10k shield and all these other cards you have to do. I want to try and make sure that I can utilize the brake ride as much as possible, as well as put so much pressure on the Vanguard that they able to drop 5 cards from their hand in just one swing, just so they don't get hit with a crit. And in game 3, he got Gradelock at 2 for at least 2 turns. I was able to damage check he was able to damage check 2 of his grade 3s, and it wasn't until he managed to actually get to game 3 that he was able to push me to that 4 damage so I can safely break ride. And it was a pretty close game still because he was able to get some nice heal triggers in order to try and delay off until Novell would hit the field, but I managed to at least keep pounding in with reverse Dayusha, great Dayusha over the brake ride and just trying to put as much aggro as possible so that he can't really use, he would have to take a hit at one point with a critical. And so I managed to win round 1. In round 2, I went up against Alex, and he was running the Revengers of Shadow Paladin with some new support from set 15, the usual Mordred Phantom over Raging Form Dragon. We went to game 3 again. In game 1, we managed to get to, brake ride combos. Whatever brake ride combo mostly came first was pretty damn good. My goal was to at least put as much pressure on the Vanguard as possible so that he would have to drop, drop hand. And fortunately for me, I had some columns to set up too, so I managed to take game 1. And then game 2, Alex got it because he managed to outlast my brake ride aggression turn. Wasn't really putting much of a turn 2 pressure when I rode onto grade 2, so he was at sitting pretty low damage around 2 to 3 by the time I hit grade 3. And the thing is, when he got those heals off too, it made it even worse when I tried to break guard because a lot of times you can just say no guard, but the thing is, when we faced in tournaments before, I always usually get that damage to actually increase that to 3 damage into, one turn. So when we went to game 3, it really came down to who had the bigger hand in terms of just guarding everything. And of course, the cushion damage as well, because when I got my cushion damage, I didn't damage check a trigger. If anything, after the break ride turn, I maybe only got a critical trigger to damage check, but still, Alex still had everything going for him, even with mana. The superior calling out, and utilizing Shadow Lancer when mana superior calls him to thin out his deck, even if it was just one card by taking out those Mordred Phantoms and searching out for more Mordred Phantoms so that he doesn't have to worry about drive checking them at all. Of course, if you drive check a Raging Form, you're pretty good because, hey, you have 3 Revenger units, yeah, Superior Ride, and retire all those 3. So I lost round 2. In round 3, I went up against Jenna. And for Jenna, I actually faced off against a Break Ride Draconic Overlord and the End rather than the Rebirth. So it was a very interesting way to really get going. I didn't know how exactly to combat it, although she managed to get her Break Ride combo off quite well. And from that on, she too owed me pretty well, and in very convincing fashion. She got the double crit when it counted the most. Now, it wasn't like I got double crit at 3, but when we were both on after Break Ride, and either I was cross ride or she was cross ride, it really came down to just having that extra 5k shield to guard with. And since she got the double crit, she managed to at least, of course, smartly put the critical on both rear guard columns. So either way, I have to block both attacks unless I take 2 damage. And heck, I couldn't do much against that. I didn't have a powerful rear guard presence when I tried to do break ride combos. Because, of course, she had enough in her hand because for the past 2 games, or at least in game 1, she managed to have such a hand when she utilized the break ride skill or Draconic Overlord, as well as the end skill. I ended up just letting it hit because maybe I'd rather have just her restand than have my own units retire because Dimension Police don't really have that much of a rear guard replenishing type of skill because it's all on the Vanguard. But I lost out against Jenna 2-0. Then we move on to the final round where I try to get 2-2 for the tournament, and I went up against Ian, who was running the Bermuda Triangle Duos. Game 1 I managed to win because I got break right combos. Kaiser managed to retire, and I got a critical. So on break right turn, he pretty much put down, okay, I need a grade 3 in the trigger or 2 grade 3s in order to break the shield. I got the grade 3, or at least I got the trigger first. I decided, okay, I'm going to put power on the Vanguard and critical onto the rear guard. And then I got to grade 3, and I was like, alright, well, you still take 2 damage because, of course, break right skill, it swings with a crit. So I took game 1. Game 2, it was down to a technical error by me. I was swinging for 36k at the Vanguard. He put down like a no pass, but the thing is, I didn't realize that he put down a 2 grade 3s or a grade 3 in the trigger to pass. And so the moral of the story is always know what your Vanguard is swinging for, especially if you're running Dimension Police. And so once we got into game 3, he managed to beat me because he was using the same tactics that he did in game 2, where he just pretty much used rate and damage on flipper as well as the draw power. It was really 3-card combo that managed to really put aggression and defense to set up for next turn. Whether it was utilizing the break ride skill in order to return everything, and then through that skill, activate cards like Ghost Rock Rio, the Counter Blast on draw, as well as the grade 1 in order to Soul Blast on flip 2, or even, Soul Blast to, actually not Soul Blast, Soul Charge and draw, or Soul Charge and unflip. There was just a variety of Bermuda Triangle units that they could have used, especially when you factor in all of them into the Grand Duo deck that's been performing so well at the Bushiroad World Championship qualifiers this season. And the thing is, I wasn't even mad. I was just saying, I can see this deck in full force, and Ian piloted very well, especially when you saw Rob come in and completely really wreck face with it, utilizing offense and defense into the kawaii mermaids of Bermuda Triangle. And so I ended up going 1-3, not too good. But hopefully I'll try out a brand new deck next week to see how it fares against the last of the break rides and cross break rides before the Legion format finally settles in. And so in Cardfight Vanguard we had a top 8 cut, and then I'll go into the top 4, in which we had CK and Henry. I think both were running Glendios respectively, and then we had Rob and Grant. Rob running the duos of Bermuda Triangle, and Grant running the Revengers of Shadow Paladin. They ended up playing it out to top 2, and Henry and CK both got to the top 2 spot out of a 21-person tournament. So congrats to both players of Team Gradelock to make it this far, as well as to both Team Dark Matter players for also making it to the top 4 as well. And then let's move on to the Buddy Fight tournament, as pretty much they got it underway fairly quickly. And there were about, I think, 7 people, 8 people, not that much, but it did go to a cut, I think, to top 2. And my first round was against Eric, and he was running Legend World Asgard. The match pretty much came down to who had the negates. Since this is luckily a only spell chain 2, or spell link 2, however you want to call it, means that, okay, when your opponent plays a spell, your opponent may play a counter spell in response, and the chain ends there. It's not like Yu-Gi-Oh! Where you can just change, and then chain link 1, chain link 2, chain link 3. Nope, in Buddy Fight, it's like, okay, your opponent plays a spell, and then the other player plays a spell in response. And the thing is, the only spell that actually supersedes that would be, of course, Drago Energy, because of Mr. Gal Mikado. So I managed to at least save my breathing guards until he would drop Ragnarok. And of course I managed to at least negate that, and therefore I was able to eliminate that strategy of him dealing 10 damage to me in one turn, because he had both Ice Blade Jokers as well as the Fenrir in the Gluttmere deal a total of 10 damage to me. And so I managed to win 2-0 against Eric with the Asgard. Moving on into round 2, I faced off against Burns, and he was running Seeger of Ancient World. And I gotta say, Seeger is the best. Well, I wouldn't call him the best, but still, he's a pretty beefy person in the form of, I'm gonna hide against this big size 3 dragon and just going to double attack and nullify and search and negate and destroy everything in its path. I know that at least two of the members on the team, Burns and CK especially, they really love to rep Seeger a lot. And I gotta say, with the two new promos that came out, Ancient World looking mighty consistent. And he managed to 2-0 me, even with the sideboard hate, as the show likes to call it, I put in with, two Beowulfs and two of the Dragon Vanquishing Swords. He had to beat me no matter what. And of course, I couldn't really do much with a monster in the center, because of course, I need to have no center if I want to attack and go destroy. And I had a Beowulf in on game 2 that was about on the top of my deck, and I was thinking, no, I need that so badly. And I wasn't able to have the breathing guards in time in order to try and keep myself alive for that long, especially when he was popping monsters and really just getting gauge, gaining life, all of that good stuff. And the thing is, in game 1, he actually managed to search out for Tempest, so because he knew he was going to lose out on Seeger, so he doesn't want to take the 5 damage, and he immediately went into Tempest, and that pretty much spelled GG for me in that game. So he 2-0'd me. And then we got into game 3, where I went up against Douglas, and he was running the hybrid dungeon world. It really just came in a matter of how am I going to survive. In game 1, I managed to win against him because when I got him with the Uriel and another, I guess, say Gorgon for the 5 damage and 1 attack, as well as choosing whether I wanted to equip Aegis or I wanted to equip the Wound Staff, whether I needed gauge or whether I just needed to put in that extra 2 damage, because of course the criticals on Legend World, they need kind of a bit of work, because I can't have 2s and 1s all the time, and the only 3 damage that I really do have were Krishnor, as well as if I wanted to go back to Hunting, but I didn't have it in my deck at the time. And then you also have the Penetrate, which was the Colibri, the Armor Dragon Colibri. I didn't have many 3 crit monsters or weapons, so that was the key difference, because he was able to utilize Tetsuya and Drum and Glory Seeker. He was able to equip it almost every match, and I really didn't have an answer to Glory Seeker because I don't have Cecilia's Spell Disarm to pop items, and if I had only my Dungeon World Actinized, I probably would have been able to do something with Justice Hammer. But I wanted that spell negate because I feel that Breathing Guard is one of the best spells for Legend World ever. And so, I ended up going 1 and 2 with the Gorgon waifus. I was thinking I probably need to discuss this a lot with my teammates, or at least playtest it a hell of a lot more to learn how much of a playstyle can I go with it, and then just take off from there. I know I'm probably gonna need 1 more still if I want to complete that deck, maybe fully, but I'm not sure what to take out for it. So there's a couple of projects that we can go to in terms of just putting out video content for you guys. And I know that a few of the people that watch the channel, they actually want to tell me that maybe less is more in a way. You don't want to just pump out videos just for the sake of pumping it out. But I want to at least have a few videos between the Unlocks Week episodes, just to show how active we can be. Despite a lot of us, there's a couple of us that are in high school, a couple of us that are in college, and a few of us actually already have jobs or are working more than 1 job. So I guess in my particular situation, I'm back in school for a 6-month day program for paralegal studies, and with everybody else doing their own thing, just we're focusing on the career or high school, college. It can be tough sometimes, but I hope that at least with the suggestions of the YouTube channel and seeing our subscriber count slowly grow day after day, it really makes all this effort worth it, and I really do appreciate it. So hopefully this week I'll see if we can either get another match or another deck profile going, and hopefully on Saturday we'll see if we can record something special. Because the thing is, in terms of Team Gradelock projects, we have a couple members of the team that actually want to go out to the Bushiroad Championship World Qualifiers in Texas this upcoming weekend. And so I know that Arturo, Henry, CK, Burns, and then I think Joe, Jenna, and then like some of our associates like Justin, they also want to come along for the ride as well. So hopefully we'll have some Team Gradelock presence over there. We'll see if we can try and get our name out there. I know that some people in Chicago, know who Team Gradelock is, and I know at least everybody in Northeast section, they're at least familiar with who Team Gradelock was, especially some of our more prominent members like Arturo. And as we move on, I guess the best thing we can do is just try and focus on just delivering quality content. That's the main thing we like to do. And with your support, I'm sure that we'll be able to do just fine. And hopefully, we'll do more giveaways for you too to reward you for supporting us after well over 2 years. And now let's get into the episode breakdown. And there's a lot of stuff to go into because we were apparently forced. I don't want to call it force fed, but we were definitely overwhelmed with a lot of information, as well as kind of an idea concept that's starting to really dig into our minds of what a Cardfight Vanguard match really looks like. So as usual, if you don't want to get spoiled on the episode, you can feel free to pause, go watch the episode, or if not, you can just close out the video and be on your merry way. So Ride 198 or G Episode 2, Kamui Katsuragi. We get to see now Chrono getting into the whole Vanguard groove, or at least in the Generation Stride era. And we get a lot of information in one episode. It's getting really insane. I have absolutely no idea what Bushi was trying to do in terms of proceeding the anime forward so differently from what we've known for the past 4 seasons. Now, when we see G all of a sudden really take effect, of course, they give a little bit of background what happened in the first episode, how all of a sudden somebody had placed a Vanguard deck into Chrono's, I guess, school locker, or how they call it, cubby hole. I don't really know, but whatever the case may be, it seems that he was chosen for a reason, maybe by one of the main characters of seasons past. But we'll have to see what happens. So then, once we right into Card Capital 2, we end up seeing an old face. So Shin pretty much comes in and gives a pretty rousing welcome to our main character. And the thing is, he also alludes to the fact that we get to see maybe another character appear later on in the episode. And soon enough, we see Chrono being greeted by Kamui and getting assimilated into this Vanguard culture even more by introducing what seems to be an MMO aspect into Cardfight Vanguard, which is pretty insane. Before really getting into that, we get to see a little bit of a modern day, I guess, feature a lot of people have, especially with smartphones and social media. Of course, they have group chat and Cardfight Vanguard. At least my predictions for these mates would probably be Aichi, Kai, Kamui, Miwa, Misaki, and maybe Naoki. That's my wild card. Now, much as it is cool to just see all the main characters, or at least their avatar icons, show up on Kamui's smartphone, we then are introduced to what seems like to be the antagonist for Cardfight Vanguard G. And I gotta say, a lot of people are really predicting this is like the Ginyu Force from Dragon Ball Z. So let's start things off with the arrogant leader Tsuneto Tada, who we'll see in the card fight later. And then we're going to go with Kao Yamaji, the one that apparently Googles everything he or she sees in sight. And finally, we get the nature lover Kei Nagara. And together, this troublesome trio represents Team Trinity Dragon. Wow, I am smelling copyright infringement on this, but other than that, it seems like a very interesting homage to Dragon Ball Z. Now, after seeing Team Trinity Dragon introduce themselves, now Kamui breaks down to Chrono what exactly Fika and Fiva are. We first start off with the fighter's card, or Fika. Apparently this is the equivalent of an avatar in an MMO character, where we're pretty much given, okay, it seems like a deck case holder and your deck. It also registers who you are and I guess what quests you have done. And so this marks the FIVA, or the Friendly International Vanguard Association, as more of the game itself, and the game I'm usually referring to in terms of EverQuest, World of Warcraft, and other massively multiplayer online role-playing games. This is where I feel like maybe it's taking a turn into an SAO type of environment, especially what's going to be following next. And so, after Kamui explains both the fighter's card and FIVA, we get to see Chrono finally take up his first quest, provided by another card fighter, and the quest is as follows. Please help me find my lost card at the park, and therefore, when Chrono tries to accept the quest, we see Tsuneto swoop in and take the quest from him. Well, not technically take the quest from him. He accepts it first, and then he immediately takes off with his team in order to get to the park so he can see the, I guess, client. And so, Chrono, a bit disappointed, Kamui helps him out, and immediately, takes off the apron. You know what? I'm going to help you out. Your first time, let's go. And Shin pretty much gets the short end of the stick, saying, "Why? What are you doing?" And so as they get to the park, it's actually this group of little kids, and are trying to figure out, I lost this card, and they show a flashback, of course. And then when he rides Perfect Riser, one of the most original units I could ever remember of in Cardfight Vanguard, it just got lost. And therefore, we get to see what shenanigans will take place. And I gotta say, there's a lot of shenanigans that take place in this part of the episode. One of my favorite parts about this episode is how Chrono would interact with other people, at least people that he's not too familiar with. And seeing the fear, well, maybe not on the screenshot, but some of the fears that you see on these kids' faces when Chrono tries to interact with them, it's quite cold, similar to how Kai is, although you kind of see a bit of Naoki in there as well. Like, a lot of people seem to fear this guy, and of course, it all it takes is this Chrono smile, please, smile. And so to really start off this quest, Kamui and Chrono would go around asking people where this card may have been. And they came across two ladies who said, well, I don't know card games in general, but I did notice there's some objects that went missing, such as watches and bracelets, etc. And so Chrono got the bright idea when he saw a bird/raven pass by. And because of this, we actually get to see a logical decision that, okay, a bird took it, because there is no way a person could just walked by, snuck up on a trio of kids, took a Perfect Riser that was just placed on the field, and walk away as if nothing happened. And in this effect, this sets a domino effect of shenanigans to happen here. As we see, both Chrono and Kamui head towards a possible tree that has a nest that may have contained Perfect Riser. Team Trinity Dragon, of course, they follow suit, and then you see a human ladder from Team Trinity Dragon and Kamui and Chrono trying to climb up the tree. And as Kamui and Chrono reach the nest, they saw not only the Perfect Riser and the bracelets and watches, they saw a still vampire and a Machining Hercules. One of them triple rare, one of them SP. And it just blows my mind thinking, oh, so this is what happened to all the old school cards. So, as they try and get that Perfect Riser, I don't know why they wouldn't get all three, the Bird Raven swoops in, takes the Perfect Riser, flies off, and now we get to see more shenanigans take place. I don't know how in the world they can even keep up with a bird like that can fly and easily get away out of eyesight. They are so determined they would run through the city, Chrono climbing up a phone pole, and seeing if they can still get the Perfect Riser in somewhat of a good condition. Because you would think there would be a lot of scratches on them by now. And it comes to the point where we see Karu, the Brainiac as I like to call him, talk about fried minced meat cakes. And thing is though, the second time he mentions it, he actually has one, and then of course, being the Brainiac that he is, decides to throw it at the Bird Raven, causing it to drop the Perfect Riser, which is pretty strange. But when it drops, you see a fountain area, and then you see both Chrono and Tsuneto try and get it, and they both have it kind of like this. I don't know. In order to put it like in terms, this is them. Like you see Tsuneto trying to tug it his way, and Chrono trying to tug it his way, and you see this tug of war. I'm surprised the card didn't rip like that. And so eventually it went into the air, went into the hands of Kamui, and he says, "All right, we're gonna settle this with a card fight." And thing is though, the setup for this was pretty interesting. The kickstand that turns into a Vanguard playmat table that can switch around graphics into what seems like to be a United Sanctuary battlefield, as Tsuneto would confirm later on, is very epic in a way. It really helps people to imagine it as the series catchphrase could be. And thus the second card fight begins between Tsuneto, who was running Oracle Think Tanks, and Chrono running Gear Chronicle. Seeing this card fight really makes me a bit nostalgic about the previous card fights from the past 4 seasons, although I could probably get used to this new format of just, stand and draw, ride, attack, alright, ride, guard, call, guard, attack, stand. I don't know, there's not even a drive check, there's not even a damage check. We're just gonna go straight action for this. We don't even care about critical stands or heals anymore. This is just complete beatdown. And seeing this screenshot that I'm about to show you kind of sums up what the series is kind of doing to the old fans. I bet that Bushio is kind of like Tsuneto right now, in which that, oh, this is the new format, this is how we're going to play a Cardfight Vanguard game. let's hope you like it. And Chrono is kind of like us. We're just a little bit, uh, it's gonna take a little bit to get used to, but maybe give us 20 episodes, and we'll probably be just like Sunetto as well. Cause I gotta admit, it's a refreshing change, but it can change quite a bit. Well, in this case, it can change a lot. Now we don't even see the names of the units being called out outside of Chrono Jet Dragon, but of course we get to see Chrono apparently deal a double or a triple crit onto Sunetto, shutting him and his team up, and therefore making it happen to complete his first quest, and seeing the kid actually sign saying, hey, this guy completed a quest. I gotta admit, you don't really see a kid signing something very often. And Chrono, at least feeling proud that he got his first quest and actually leveled up to grade 1 already, so that's actually a pretty good start for him. And then when we finally have him and Kamui triumphantly, well, maybe humbly, walking back to Card Capital, we get this little surprise. Wowza, seeing Misaki all grown up, I feel pretty old, because I remember when she was just in middle or high school, and seeing her now, wow. Because the thing is, though, she is my Cardfight Vanguard waifu. I started out with Oracle Think Tanks. Even though Novigraph was my first deck, Oracle Think Tank was my first mainstay. And seeing her call out Kamui for skipping out work to help out Chrono complete his first quest was very hilarious. And oh boy, it just shows how far the group has gone since then. And thus ends episode Ride 198, or G episode 2. I'll continue to make that reference just to keep track of episodes in Cardfight Vanguard as a whole, as well as episodes in Cardfight Vanguard Season 5. And this episode, although it displays some characters quite prominently, including, Kamui, Chrono, Team Trinity Dragon, as well as the return of Misaki, but we also get to see some secondary characters make appearances and cameos in that episode. So we'll assume or imply that they will have an impact on the future plot, and we'll look forward to see what clans are they going to make. Because although we know nothing about the Oracle Think Tank that Sunetto has, and we don't know much about some of the units that Chrono has in his Gear Chronicle deck, we'll definitely see how this unfolds later on. Maybe they'll have a traditional card fight like they had in seasons past, or maybe they'll continue to do so and introduce a new way of how skills are performed in this new season. And that is it for me. My name is AlphonZeus of Team Gradelock. I hope that you've enjoyed this week that I've unlocked for you, and I'll see you next time. Take care.